Hello everyone! Today I'm excited to show you how Martus helps nonprofits by making budgeting and reporting not only faster but more collaborative. We're quick to implement, and when it's time to budget, Martus makes it easy for the whole team to contribute. In today's demo, I'm going to give you a high-level overview of our pre-built reports, our report builder, how we sync the data from your ERP, our different budget creation tools, our forecasting tools, and our personnel budgeting. Before we get started, I do want to preface that today I will be demoing as a full administrative user, meaning I have access to see and do everything within Martus. However, for our non-admins, they are only going to see the modules and the data that they have been given access to. So what does this look like? For example, right now I am viewing one of our many pre-built out-of-the-box reports that we offer at Martus. This particular report provides a graphical overview of my budget to actuals for the current year. However, if I'm a program manager that only has access to one department or program, then that is the only data that I'm going to see when I log into my Martus instance. Let's take a look at our statement of activities. One thing our users love about Martus is how quickly they can start using our reports. After the first kickoff call and all the data is loaded, users can start using any of our pre-built reports immediately. Within this report, you will see that we are reporting all of our actuals as well as our budgeted amounts for the current year. Within Martus, anywhere you see a blue hyperlink means it is drillable. So if I drill down into my office supplies, it is going to take me to a transaction report, which is going to make a live API call out to your ERP, and it will bring in all of your transaction data in real time. Basically, this is a live GL detail report that lives inside of Martus. And your users, they don't need to have access to the ERP to be able to see this data. Let's go back to our statement of activities. One thing I do want to call out is that while these drill down capabilities are helpful, we do have the ability to set restrictions at the account level so non-admins aren't able to drill down and see this level of detail. Alternatively, if you don't want them to see an account at all, we can restrict the account so it doesn't even show up on their reports. Moving up to the top, let's look at some of the filters. If I look at my rows, I currently have it set to account view and my columns set to months. However, if I want my programs to be my rows and my location to be my columns, with a click of a button, I've just created a new report. I can also sort by any of my dimensions that we have synced in from the ERP. Once I find a report I like, I can save that report so I can easily access it next time I come into Martus. For users that need more flexibility beyond our pre-built reports, we offer a custom report builder module. Here's an example of a report I created. At the bottom, you'll see that statement of activities that we just looked at, and I've modified it to add a notes column. Up at the top, you'll see that I've added charts and graphs as well as a company logo. Here is another example of a report I built. Up at the top, you can see that I've added KPI cards, and at the bottom, we have our custom report that I built. These reports can span multiple years, budgets, and include calculations as well as charts and graphs. Lastly, we've also started incorporating AI into Martus, where users can simply describe the report they want, click Generate, and Martus is automatically going to create that report for them, making it easy to create reports on the fly and get the data that they need quickly. As for our updater here, this is where Martus will sync the chart of account list, dimensions, and actuals for the current month and previous 2 months every weeknight. If updates do occur before the weeknight sync, admin users can always come in and manually sync everything on an ad hoc basis. Now we are going to move to the core of our platform, the planner area, where the work of the budgeting happens. Right now, you're looking at a consolidated view of the budget on our planner summary report. A common challenge we hear from finance team, especially those using Excel, is lack of visibility and control during budgeting. With Martus, that entire process is streamlined. So how do we do that? Behind the scenes of this consolidated budget lies what we call budget worksheets. Martus has a very collaborative environment, and that is facilitated through the use of these budget worksheets, which are again based off of the dimensions. Right now, this is showing all the different budget worksheets where users have budgeted office supplies. The idea here is that as users are working and budgeting in these different worksheets, again, based on their permissions in Martus, it will take everyone's work and consolidate that into this overall budget you're seeing here. Now, let's take a look at one of these budget worksheets where the work of the budgeting is actually done. Right here, you are going to see an overview of every worksheet in our current year budget that needs to be budgeted for. I like to think of these worksheets as the equivalent of the different Excel tabs that roll up to the consolidated budget, which again are defined by the unique combination of your different dimensions. As you can see, most of these worksheets are open, which means users are still working on the budget, but some have been submitted and locked and are waiting for approval. When a worksheet is submitted for approval, the designated approver or approvers will receive an email notification. They can then come into Martus, approve or deny the request, and leave comments back to the user. If I go back now, let's go into one of these budget worksheets and talk about what it actually looks like to fill out one. Starting at the top, you will see this worksheet is based on this location in this department. You will also see at the top, I have this reference data in blue. This gives our users a point of reference to help them work on next year's budget. Or we could even be working on a reforecasted version of a current budget. But as you can see, we offer different types of reference data for users to use as a starting point to help them fill out their budget. Once I've decided which data I want to use as my starting point, I can quickly populate these lines using that data. How do I do that? If I select my option up here, Initialize, you'll see I have the option to use all of my prior year actual numbers or all of my prior year budget numbers. Since I only have actuals through September in this environment, I am going to use a combination of my actual and my budget numbers. You will see here I can also mark this up by a percentage. I can increase or decrease it, but in my case, I'm going to leave it as is, and I'm going to set the values. Once I do that, you will see that I have essentially just copied all of the data up here in my reference down to my actual budget worksheet. One thing I do want to point out is you will see we have this salary line in our reference data, but it's not shown below on our budget worksheet. I'll show you how this gets populated when we cover our personnel budgeting. Some other ways in which we can fill out this worksheet is that we can drill directly into the line, we can input some amounts, we can tab through, and then we can very easily save that. Most of our users, however, will use this calculator, or what we call the budget widget. And they like this because it gives them different adjustment types. What I mean by this, maybe they want to do a monthly spread of, say, $100 per month. Martus is going to take that and it's going to make that monthly spread. Maybe we want to do a weekly spread. You'll see Martus takes that $100 and it takes into account any months that have 5 weeks. We can also do bi-weekly, quarterly, or annual. Annual is going to take that $100 and it's going to spread it evenly across all months, taking into account any rounding. We can also do custom spreads like days in a month. You can also copy existing values. For example, if I want to capture any seasonality, I can select my 12-month trailing actuals. It will then copy those values, and I can then apply a 5% markup adjustment. You can see here, I'm essentially increasing expenses in this budget line by 5%. Afterward, I can add any notes, and then I can save my changes. When I go back to my budget worksheet, you'll see that line I was just working on is now updated, and the icon has turned blue, indicating there are notes on that budget. When I hover over the lines, I can now see those notes. Going back to that collaboration piece, this is really helpful for whoever is approving because now they have the peace of mind that there are not only no formula errors, but they can also see the user's assumptions behind all of the budget lines. There are other features too that we call special purpose worksheets. These worksheets allow you to itemize budget lines or create calculations, and all of that information gets summarized and the notes get concatenated and pushed back to that budget worksheet that we were just working on, making it easier to review and see any other underlying assumptions associated with that calculation. After I've completed filling out my budget worksheet and I'm ready to submit it, all I have to do is simply press this Submit and Lock button, and the first approver will then get notified that they are ready to come in and review this worksheet. You will see here back on our Worksheets tab that this is now submitted, locked, and it's waiting for approval. Diana would have received an email, and Ed, the first approver, he will also get a notification that it's ready to approve. He can then simply come in, approve or deny, leave any comments, and this worksheet will then be consolidated into the overall budget. So to wrap this up in our planner area, we do have a forecast module. which allows users to create multi-year projections as well as what-if analysis based on the underlying budget that we've created within Martus. Our most popular with our not-for-profit clients is our what-if analysis. As you can see here, we're taking that underlying budget and we are adjusting it based on best case or worst case in terms of funding. Our multi-year projection works similarly, except each year compounds and impacts the following year based on your assumptions. Let's take a look at our personnel budgeting now. This is a permission-based area where users can easily create unlimited scenarios to build their salary and benefit projections. All of this data will eventually get pushed to those budget worksheets we just worked on. At Martus, we do position-based budgeting, which means all of these positions I have listed out here can be tied to employees, but they could also be vacant. We also have the option to pool positions. What I mean by pooling positions is that instead of budgeting for 7 counselors individually like we've done here, I could budget for 1 counselor position and simply assign 7 FTEs to it. Let's take a look at one of these positions. In these positions, you will see we have what we call pay types. All these pay types define how employees are compensated, and all of this is set up when you go through implementation. Notice here, you can also define FTEs, as well as any start or end dates for seasonal employees. Below you will see the dimensions where this position impacts the budget, what we call Daisy's home dimensions. With our personnel allocations, you can easily split this position's time across different dimensions, whether that be programs or grants, simply by telling our system how to allocate it. Now, if I click View Detail, I can now see a detailed breakdown of this position, broken down by not only pay type, but the monthly and total compensation for the year for this position. I can also make updates throughout the year to any of these pay types. You will see here in February, Daisy received a 4% salary raise. I did this by simply selecting the pay type and clicking Update Pay Items. To illustrate this, let's say Daisy is receiving another 2% raise in June. I will simply select the date range, input the percentage increase. I could also use a flat amount. And once I've updated that, you will now see that all of the pay types have been updated in our detail, as well as any dependent pay types. This makes sure that Daisy's salary is complete and we've taken into account any adjustments that she's had throughout the year. Once we have created and set up all of our positions and we are ready to post back to our budget worksheets, we will go to our Summary tab. In our Summary tab, we are showing exactly what will be posted back to the budget worksheets by account, as well as the different dimensions that make up those budget worksheets. All that detail that we just saw with the employee names and pay types, that stays within personnel budgeting, which is a permission-based area, making it so when users look at their worksheets, they will only see these summary amounts and nothing else. Once I'm ready to post, all I will do is simply select my budget down here, and then I will click Post to Existing Budget. Now that our personnel budget is completed and posted, that wraps up our demo today. As you've seen, Martus makes budgeting and reporting faster, smarter, and more collaborative. You can create budgets, run reports, build multi-year projections, perform what-if analysis, and handle personnel planning all in one platform, so your organization can spend less time on spreadsheets and more time on your mission.